One of the causes of climate change is greenhouse effect. Now, when there is a concentration of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, this enhances greenhouse effect, and as a result, we have that the warming of the atmosphere or the planet, such that we have never experienced in the history of human civilization. Now, another cause of climate change is the ozone layer depletion. Ozone layer here is a thin layer in the atmosphere which reduces or prevents the intensity of radiation of the sun that reaches the surface of the earth. So, with so many human activities like burning of fossil fuels and other things, there's a release of gases into the atmosphere, such as the chlorofluorocarbon gas, which is called the CFC. And when this is released into the atmosphere, it tends to deplete the ozone layer. And when the ozone layer is depleted, the intensity of the sun that reaches the Earth's surface becomes so high, and this leads to warming of the planet, also causing climate change. Another cause of climate change is volcanic activities. When volcanic eruption takes place, various substances and various gases also are released into the atmosphere or into the environment. And these substances or gases released into the atmosphere or the environment lead to some changes, which ultimately changes the climate of that particular area. Number 4, we have increase in population. Now, we have identified also that human activities leads to so many release of so many gases into the atmosphere, which in turn distorts the natural condition leading to climate change. So, with an increase in population, the activity of man leading to this release of gases to the atmosphere also increases, thus increasing the chance of climate change in any given area. And we have deforestation. Deforestation is another cause of climate change. Deforestation has to do with deliberate and indiscriminate felling down of trees in an environment. When this takes place, there is depletion in the amount of oxygen provided in that area, and in turn, an increase in the amount of concentration of carbon dioxide in that area. And as a result of this, can also lead to changes in the climatic elements over time, leading to climatic change. Now we have the 6th cause of climate change, which is gas flaring. The continuous flaring of gas, especially in petroleum or from petroleum products, gives rise to different gases like carbon dioxide and other dangerous gases as well, which can cause climate change. Let's look at the consequences of climate change. Now, when climate change occurs, does it have any adverse effect on the environment or otherwise? That's what we want to consider now. Now, when we have occurrence of climate change, when there is climate change, there is melting of the ice caps. And as a result of global warming, which is as a result also of the changes in the climate, the polar ice, have to melt, and this leads to increase in sea level. Gradually, with time, the sea level increases, which could result to at times flooding, and usually a major threat to low-lying areas. Another consequence of climate change is increasing temperature. Due to the depletion of the ozone layer, which is the thin layer within the atmosphere, which reduces the intensity of the radiation of the sun that reaches the Earth's surface. So due to the depletion of this layer, the sun, or the intensity of the sun that reaches the Earth is too high, thus increasing the temperature. And we begin to experience or feel the direct rays from the sun. Another consequence of climate change is high rainfall. High rainfall. This is owing to the changes in temperature and other weather conditions. We now experience unusually heavy rainfall, which leads to flooding in many parts of the world. This as a result of unusually heavy rainfall that we experience owing to changes in temperature. Climate change can also lead to desertification. And this is an extreme condition or weather condition resulting from low rainfall and high winds. These weather conditions, they are now causing desertification in most areas that are close to desert, where we find difficulties in carrying out agricultural practices because of the climate change that has in those areas resulted to low rainfall. You can see some areas, because of the change in the climate, some areas begin to experience unusually heavy rainfall, whereas some areas experience very low rainfall, thus leading to desertification, dryness of the area, which will not be able to support agricultural practices, also contributing to a shortage of food. Now, we also have emergence of new diseases. Climate change can also lead to the emergence of new diseases. And now, new diseases are fast emerging in the world today due to the extreme cases of these hard weather conditions. You discover that when there is an abrupt change, which is in weather conditions, which is, are very extreme. For instance, in areas where rainfall becomes so heavy, unusually heavy, this could lead to possible emergence of new diseases that are associated with this consistent or heavy rainfall in these areas, which were hitherto not like this. So these have also, as a consequence of the climate change, we have emergence of new diseases. There is also decrease in economic activities. Sectors that rely, mostly on certain temperatures and rainfall levels, like sectors like agriculture, tourism, forestry, etc. When there is climate change, the economic activities in these areas or regions tend to decrease drastically because they are greatly affected by the changes. So, as a result of this, these sectors like the agricultural sector, maybe the tourism and forestry will be affected, and as a result, we say that there is low economic activities or a decrease in economic activities. Now, climate change can also lead to extinction of some plants and animal species. Some species of plants and animals may not cope with these changes brought about by changes in the climate condition as a result of the climate change. So they may die and go into extinction. That is to say, they may no longer be in existence. Having identified these consequences of climate change, how do we remedy this situation? That's what we'll consider now. Remedies to the problems of climate change. How do we take care of this issue that is so obviously affecting the world? One way to remedy this situation is by encouraging, reforestation. Reforestation has to do with a deliberate, effort to plant trees. And of course, the availability of trees, green trees, evergreen trees within an environment will tend to increase the availability of oxygen. And, oxygen is useful for respiration and as well purification of the environment. So with an increase in the availability of trees through reforestation, we can achieve this. Number two way to take care of this problem is by upholding zero carbon emission. The government of a particular country should ensure that only little or no carbon is emitted into the environment. This will go a long way to reducing the effect of climate change within that environment. Another way is to educate the people. Knowledge is powerful. In a situation where the people are not even aware